Just get off my property right now. That's what our HOA president screamed at my wife, Chloe, as she was quietly painting by the lake outside our new cabin. Imagine it, the woman actually called the cops on Chloe for trespassing on our own land and had the nerve to try and fine us, harass us, do whatever it took to push us out, just like she'd done to other families around here. But what she didn't know, not in a million years, was who she was really dealing with, and that little blind spot of hers was about to flip the script on her whole little reign of terror. We pulled up to the cabin for the first time as owners on a cool, golden morning, sunbeams cutting through the pine trees and making the whole lake shimmer. I remember sitting in the SUV with Chloe, both of us just breathing it in her hand, tight around mine. She's got this way of seeing the world like a painting, catching light and color in places nobody else looks. "This is it," she said, quiet as a prayer. "This little slice of heaven cost us close to $800, $1,000, years of sweat building up my software company, burning out, selling it just so we could find some peace." Chloe set up her easel on the deck while I started wiring up cameras, paranoid maybe, but after years in tech, you start thinking about security. The first few days, it felt like we were living inside a dream. Chloe humming, planting lavender bushes by the water, me walking around with coffee, watching her work. Most of the neighbors seemed normal walking dogs or jogging, waving across the road. But on the third morning, the weather changed, and so did everything else. That's when Brenda showed up. Imagine a storm cloud in human form, mid-60s, crisp polo shirt with HOA board president stitched on silver hair, pulled back so tight I swear it hurt just to look at her. She looked us over like she was taking inventory. "You should read the landscaping rules very carefully," she told us, voice sharp enough to slice bread. "We have specific standards here." She eyed Chloe's lavender bushes like they were radioactive, whipped out her phone and started snapping pictures, making notes like she was running a crime scene. "The landscaping committee will review these for compliance. You'll hear from us soon." And just like that, she vanished. That evening, we got our first official email, 20 pages of landscaping violations, yellow highlighted, red circled, complete with time-stamped photos of our property, which was a little weird considering we'd only been there a couple days. I laughed it off. Some people just need a hobby, I told Chloe, but I had no idea how right I was. That night, scrolling through my security footage, I caught Brenda on the edge of our property, standing stock still, just staring at our house for 10 solid minutes like she was planning something. And that's when it hit me. Prescott Holdings, her name from the old records. This was personal. A week later, Chloe decided to paint out on the rocky point jutting into the lake, absolutely on our land. I checked that survey myself. She was in her element, golden hour light on her hair paint, all over her hands, just lost in it. What I didn't see was Brenda peering from her window phone in hand, firing up a live stream. "There's a stranger trespassing," she told her audience, voice trembling with fake fear. "Someone set up equipment right on our community shoreline. Please help." Within an hour, 5,000 people were watching, furious, in the comments sharing what they claimed was our address, demanding something be done. Then Brenda called 911. "Unknown individual, possible criminal intent, won't leave despite request total fabrication," but it worked. The police came out. The look on Chloe's face when that cruiser rolled up, that's burned in my brain. Deputy Russo, seasoned, tired, looked over at Chloe, gentle, terrified Chloe inside. "Ma'am, I've got a complaint about trespassing." I rushed down from the deck with our deed, the survey, every scrap of paperwork. "This is our property," I told him. But the live stream had thousands watching, and Russo, probably just wanting to keep the peace, asked Chloe to move. Watching my wife, who painted for therapy, who only wanted a quiet life, be humiliated like that just broke something inside me. That night, I called my attorney. "I want to buy Pinnacle Property Management. Now." A couple days later, after a little shell company maneuvering, I owned the management company that ran Brenda's beloved HOA. "See, you want to play games, I can play too." Of course, Brenda wasn't done. 2 weeks later, we got a $500 violation in the mail, unauthorized landscaping, creating a disturbance, all that. I started digging deep. Found out Brenda's family used to own all this land, lost it in a bankruptcy a generation ago. Now she treats the HOA like her own private kingdom, wielding rules and fines as revenge for losing her inheritance. She drove out at least 6 other families, always the same pattern pile on violations, turn the community against them, make their lives hell until they leave. But this time she picked the wrong people. I showed up at the mailbox's folder in hand. "Brenda, we need to talk about these citations," I said, laying out the surveys, the deeds, the maps. She barely glanced at them. "Paper doesn't matter. Community decisions do." She honestly believed her own rules trumped the law. That's all I needed to know. That's when the real nastiness started. Our trash cans knocked over, rumors about us spread. Then one morning, Chloe slipped on something in the garden, rotting meat and fish parts. She went down hard, crying, her wrist twisted. Security footage showed Brenda 2 a.m. walking the perimeter with bags leaving food for the animals. The psychological warfare was methodical, pressure, sabotage, plausible deniability. But this time, every move was caught on camera. I sent Chloe to her parents for a bit, then called in private security, more cameras, motion sensors, night vision. While Brenda was busy vandalizing, I was setting up my counterattack. My new management credentials arrived that week. All of Brenda's power, every fine, every rule, every decision flowed straight through me now. A few days later, I made my move. New policies, from management ID cards for all residents, stricter enforcement. Brenda went ballistic, started door-to-door petition drives, screaming about outside corporate interests, trying to rally the community. She didn't realize I was watching, learning who actually supported her and who just wanted peace. One night I caught Gary, her husband, looking miserable as Brenda raged. "Honey, maybe we should let this go," he said, and she snapped at him in front of neighbors. "I have to fight to the end." The man looked ready to vanish into the trees. Finally, Brenda demanded an emergency meeting to remove the new management, meaning me. The irony. Her request had to be approved by Pinnacle, and I was the only one who could do it. I set the meeting for a Thursday night at the community center. She strutted in armed with charts, screenshots, and a portfolio of complaints. The room was tense, half supporting her, half quietly, hoping for a new day. She started with a fire and brimstone speech about outsiders and rule breakers, presenting photos of Chloe's painting, even footage of my security cameras, but she didn't know what was coming. When it was my turn, I walked to the front. "Thank you for organizing this meeting, Brenda," I said, plugging in a USB drive. Up came the footage, Brenda 2 a.m. spreading trash, harassing us, trespassing caught from every angle. The room went dead silent. Gary put his head in his hands. Brenda stood frozen, mouth open. I turned to the crowd, calm. "As you can see, we've been dealing with some serious issues. These are legal recordings showing ongoing harassment and vandalism by the current board president." Then, as the new owner of Pinnacle, I announced her immediate removal and that the sheriff's office would get a copy of everything. The place erupted, not in chaos, but applause. Brenda lost it, shouting about her family's legacy, screaming that we had no right to be there. Gary quietly apologized to everyone, took her by the arm, and led her out as she ranted about injustice and stolen land. After they left, the community actually cheered, not for me, not for revenge, but for the end of years of fear and petty tyranny. Chloe came home and painted by the lake again. Neighbors started planting flowers, letting their kids play outside, living like they actually owned their own homes. Brenda and Gary moved away a couple months later. I heard they were getting counseling, trying to pick up the pieces somewhere nobody knew their names. But you know what? In places like this, peace isn't free. You have to fight for it sometimes. So, what do you think? Was I right to take her down, or did I go too far? Ever seen a community war like this? Let me know in the comments, because in every neighborhood, there's always a little drama under the surface. And sometimes the only way to fix it is to shine a light for everyone to see.